Your mind is your most powerful tool. But what if it's broken? Can it be fixed? On average, 10 Canadians will take their own life today. That means in the next 6 minutes that I have to present this speech, there's potential for someone to do so. So I'll be as direct as possible and hopefully reach someone who needs to hear this today. Even at your darkest time, you're destined for something greater. Let me say that again. Even at your darkest time, you're destined for something greater. I know, because it was this belief that kept me from being a part of that statistic and gave me the microphone today. Let me explain. I was a mixed-race child growing up in a predominantly white town, raised by 2 white adopted parents. And by age 16, we had a falling out and I was removed from the family home. I was homeless and broken. I'd been removed from my biological family's care due to exposure of crack cocaine and on account of my father being incarcerated for a violent crime. I was then sent to a loving foster home only to be adopted after 3 years because they lost their biological son to a fight against cancer at age 15. I was then brought to a small town where I was mistaken for the other mixed-race child at my public school. The teachers would call me by his name each and every day, and I never corrected them. How can a 6th grader believe that there's greatness within them when they're not even being called by their own name? I remember being called nigger for the first time on the playground at school, and I was confused as to why the other students were expecting me to fight him. It wasn't until I went home crying that day that I learned that I was different from every other kid at school, and my brother, and the parents explaining this all to me. It wasn't until I asked when my adopted brother's skin color was going to darken like mine that I realized that I didn't fit into this life that was laid out before me, that I was just blending in. This led to years of confusion and frustration. I began asking questions that always came back with the same answer. Malcolm, we will tell you when you're older. I had to wait to find out these intense details about my own past. But that talk never came. Because by age 16, I was sitting on the cold curb in the middle of January with $15 in my bank account and this letter from the Orangeville Police Service stating that I'm not welcome on or near the property of my parents' house. And I've carried that with me, both physically and emotionally. I was at my darkest time. When my parents left that night to bring my brother to hockey, having nowhere else to go, I went back to the house. I opened the garage door and closed it behind me. I knew that I had a bit of time, but that my parents would send me out if they found me. So I quickly searched the garage and found an old outdoor carpet. I climbed on top of the hockey net to the top of the garage where there was a 3-foot opening that my father had built using nails and plywood. This was used for storing the winter tires. I pushed the tires to the side, laid down the carpet, and crawled into the space. I laid in the freezing cold, pitch black, confined space, and I cried. I cried until I was too cold and tired to cry anymore. I cried until I found myself on the gym roof of my public school that was far too easy to climb, staring at the playground beneath me with a sense of calm. This was the first time I thought about killing myself, but it wasn't the last. I remember the feel of the steel edge beneath my feet, slippery from the snow. I stood up there hoping someone would notice and call the police, not because I wanted to be stopped, but because I wanted someone to care. But that was the thought that also made me take a step backwards towards safety. That I'm not broken. The people who don't fit in are the people who stand out. The belief that even then, at my darkest time, that I was going to have a lasting impact on the world and not the pavement beneath me. Because I was once told, they say your life flashes before your eyes, make it worth watching. And I didn't like what I watched during my time spent on that gym roof. I healed my mind. I became comfortable with being different. My friend's family took me off the street to watch me succeed. I now have a place to go home to during the holidays, and there are presents under the tree with my name on it at Christmas time. I have gone on to post-secondary school where I captained Durham College's men's first rugby team to an OCAA gold medal. I have earned numerous rugby and academic achievements, and I have more extended family than I can begin to count. 4 years ago, the family that took me in sat me down and walked me through the process of getting my adoption paperwork. Last year it came in. 4 files this thick about my true identity from birth to age 6. The mother called me while I was at work, and she said that the content was dark and that I should read it with someone. So naturally, I read it alone. It contained all of the information heard here tonight, but finally, I was calm. I was calm because I was happy with who I was, and I didn't need a file to tell me that. The past doesn't define me, I define me. And if there's one thing I'd ask you to take away from my speech, it's the belief that everyone, even at their darkest times, is destined for something greater, because I conquered mine, and it saved my life. Thank you.